Hello, scrappers, recyclers, and investors. Welcome to Shark Scrapper Live, where every week we talk about precious metals, industrial metals, stocks that are somewhat kind of sort of involved in the recycling and scrapping business somehow. And we also have a safety note and a business note. So welcome. We've got a lot to cover today, and I am really looking forward to diving into some great discussions. Welcome, JCT, Scrapping Irish, Andrew Powell, JR Cat, Electronic Scrapper, Scrap It All. Great to have you all here. Roger won't be joining us today, but he's out doing his thing. E-Waste Mike, great to have you here. I don't know if y'all caught it, but Roger was out scrapping on Thanksgiving Day. Mike was busy cleaning his yard. There's just a whole lot going on during this time frame. So we are going to dive right in and get right to it because, boy, howdy, we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to try to cover today. We're going to start off with silver and some good news with silver here. Let's look at this 24-hour chart. Look at that little rise we got going. Now, again, this is only 24 hours. So, let's see, was there something to this? When we look at the 3-day, what we can see was that it was relatively flat for the first part of this 3-day period. I guess that makes sense. Holiday, U.S. market's not got a lot going on. And then we saw some climb out here. This is what we like to see, this nice advance here. So this is an interesting chart for the week because you can see that we had sort of a slow up and down, a bit of a plateau going on here. And then here's this bounce right here at the end of the week. So this is really good. This is a good signal. Love to see this. If we look at the month, overall trend is definitely up, going from 23, just over $23 an ounce up to $24.55 an ounce. We're still in the buy range, but we're starting to get in the upper area, the upper side of that buy range, at least my buy range anyway. Our 3-month chart is not that great. We're up about 0.37%, so not huge, but it's not bad, right? We're not down. So, and we had been down halfway through the month, so it's good to see us back up. Year to date, we're up 1.36%, which is nice. Always nice to see us going up. I say that, but then there's another part that says, well, if you believe in the theory of dollar cost averaging, then you sometimes want the prices to go down because that's when you can get more for your money. Dollar cost averaging is the way that some people approach investing in stocks and their precious metals. Essentially, it says, I'm going to invest a certain number. I don't know, pick a number, $1,000 a month in silver. And what I do is every month and I'm not saying I do this. This is just an example to explain dollar cost averaging. So you say every month I'm going to invest $1,000 in silver. And so what you're doing is you are buying, you want to buy as many ounces of silver in that month as you can. So you want the prices to be down because when the prices are down, you're going to buy more silver. When the prices are up, you're still going to spend your $1,000, but you won't get as much. And the theory is that with things like the stock market and precious metals, especially gold and silver, that have a long-term upward trend, you will statistically buy more and have greater value by dollar cost averaging than you will if you try to time the market. That's the theory anyway. Hey, that's right, recycling. Great to have you here. And if we look at, say, this 5-year where we can see that the price is up 44.24%, if you had been dollar cost averaging throughout this period, you would have acquired, statistically speaking, you would have acquired larger quantities at periods when the prices were down. And you would have bought less when prices were up a little bit, but you would overall come out ahead of the game. So dollar cost averaging is a great way to approach investing in things like silver, gold, and the stock market. And it's even easier in the stock market because you can do, depending upon who you use as a brokerage or buying firm, you can set it up. You just put the money into that account, and it will automatically purchase things on your behalf. And then if you set the dividends to automatically buy new shares, then you are in essence dollar cost averaging. So anyway, really good trend with silver here. We like seeing silver up. Let's go back here to this 3-month. We're getting near the $25 an ounce range. I start to get leery when I see prices above 25. I'm not a big fan of buying above $25 an ounce. I love it when it's down here in the $20 to $22 an ounce range. That's when I would be buying my physical silver if I was buying. I think most of you know right now that I am not buying right now because I am consolidating my cash position in preparation for moving next year. So I need my cash to be able to get me through the move next year. All right, well, that's our silver. What do you all see going on with silver? What are you planning to do with silver? Looking forward to your comments down below. And while we wait for comments to come in on the silver market, it's time to get right into our holiday, our safety discussion, which is holiday influenced. And I say it's holiday influenced because there are elements of this that are applicable all year round, but they really come to light during the holiday season. One of the first ones that I understand, that I see, that I have to deal with myself is overloading your circuits. Grass Cutter Palmer, hey Tim, how's it going? Great to have you here. It is very common during the holiday period for people to really overload their electrical circuits. The common household circuits here in the United States will have 2 plugs. And it's not at all uncommon to see a power strip coming off of each one of those. The power strip might have 4, 6, 8 plugs on it. You got all kinds of lights plugged in there. So you got to be really careful about overloading those circuits. Now, power strips are a little bit safer than if you're just using one of those wall plugs that looks like a little brick that has, 4 or 5 outlets on it, because it has no safety features built in. You still have to be careful with overloading your circuits. Now, it's a little less of an issue these days because most of us have LED lights. And so the current draw for LED lights is usually much less than the current draw for a lot of the old incandescent kind of bulbs. What we would refer to as vintage bulbs now. So it's not as big a problem these days, but you still want to be careful. The other thing, of course, is that you're running extension cords all over the place. And especially if you're outside, you want to make sure that you're using extension cords that are designed to be out in the weather. And you don't want to have any fraying, cracks, or bare wire showing in those extension cords, because you can risk, electrocution, or again, grounding out or overloading your circuit. HH Recycle is still trying to imagine having $1,000 a month to spend on silver. I was just throwing a number out there, man. Okay, I was just throwing a number out there. The other thing that I frequently see, I see it up and down the street when people are putting out their decorations, ladder safety, right? You see people that are really going higher on the ladder than they should be, or the ladder isn't properly supported. And those are the kind of things that you just kind of cringe a little bit. You also will frequently see people up on, say, an aluminum ladder, and they're handling electricity. You want to use either a wood or a fiberboard ladder when you're doing electrical kind of stuff. Especially if you're dealing with anything where there's going to be bare wire kind of connections. It's not so bad if you're just plugging in lights and things like that. But any kind of bare wire stuff, you want to have wood or fiber board kind of ladders. You'll see the professional electricians, that's what they're using. They're a little bit heavier than, say, an aluminum ladder, but they're not going to, cause a current to flow. And the other big thing is just people going too high on the ladder, right? All the ladders will have a warning that says, no step above here or something like that. And the idea is that when you're on the top safe rung, your legs are leaning up against part of the ladder to help steady you. And that is if you're using, an A-frame kind of ladder. And so that's the safe height for that ladder. Of course, you see people all the time, they go all the way to, say, the top platform, and they may have somebody steadying the ladder down below, they may not. So you got to be, just be safe on those ladders. Ted Varney, welcome. Great to have you here. And then, then there's the leaning ladders when you're leaning it up against something. Not as big a deal when you're leaning it up against a house, but you want to make sure that the feet are firmly planted so it doesn't, tip off to the side and slide over. Just watch those ladders. And so you can see the electrical safety, the ladder safety, those apply all year round. But we see a lot of people up doing these things during the holiday decorating period. And some of that is a little bit cringeworthy, I have to say. HH Recycling has another holiday safety tip. Don't operate heavy machinery after turkey, especially if you've had too much turkey or too much wine or beer along with the turkey. Now, that's when you really got to be careful. Gibby Scrapper, welcome. Great to have you here. So love those holiday safety tips. Any other holiday safety tips? What do you all? What's some of your favorite holiday safety tips? Of course, I have to believe that not drinking and driving should be right up there too. And again, that's another one that you don't want to do that any time of the year anyway. So. Yeah, Mike, it does kind of take the fun out of it if you're not, in a life-threatening situation. I got to admit. I guess when you're talking turkey and ham, you want to be talking knife safety, but we talked about knife safety last week, and we had a really good follow-up on the knife safety, the sharp object safety. Last week, Chris from boardsort.com weighed in and he said, you also got to watch out for getting fatigued, because as you start getting tired, you start doing stupid things. And if you have a chainsaw in your hand and you're tired, there's no telling what you're going to cut. So I was wondering if that was a bit of experience, a lesson learned the hard way from Chris at Boardsort, or if he was just, trying to help us all out. Or too much wild turkey. That's another important one. That's right. Recycling, that can turkey of the liquid or the poultry variety. All righty. So, I don't see any more safety tips coming in here. So we're going to keep moving right along. Hey, Mike, Gibby wants to know how you're enjoying the new house. All right, so our next topic here is our industrial metal, and you all saw from the title that we're going to be talking aluminum, and it's just kind of not. I mean, I don't want to say there isn't a lot going on, because you can see right here in the 24-hour chart, we got some ups and downs going on here, a few cents going on here as it moves through the day. And then we have our 30-day where we had a nice climb out for a while, almost getting, to that $1.02. Then it's dropped back off down below $1 a pound again. So we've had some movement, but we're not great and not consistent. So we've got this ups and downs going on with the aluminum. Here we are. Look at the 60-day. We're up over $1.04. We dropped down below 90 cents. 98 cents a pound. We're back over $1 a pound. We're dropping back down again. So we're really kind of caught in this. What's happening with aluminum? It's up and down. In the 6-month period, we saw a couple of weird spikes. As we've discussed, this happens with the aluminum market. I've had some things that have seen that these spikes are caused by sort of speculative hits. People see something happening in the world, and so there's some speculating going on, and that can cause these spikes to happen in the aluminum market. But generally speaking, there just isn't much. You see a lot. You see this pattern, right? This is almost a sinusoid. We're up, we're down, we're up, we're down, we're up, we're down. So there's this fluctuating going on, but no consistent up or down movement. Now, there is some goodness to that because it helps yards to keep stable pricing for us. But we'd rather see an upward trend than a downward trend. And our 1-year aluminum spot price, we had ups and downs, and then it tanked. So we were oscillating around $1.20 a pound. Then we tanked. Now we're oscillating around, just under $1 a pound. So our 1 year is just not fantastic. So that's cute. Howdy, aluminum. E-waste Jill, you're cracking me up there. Patrick, welcome. Great to have you here. And Metallic Maniac, welcome as well. So we look at the 5-year with aluminum, and we were all really happy when we saw this going on, this climb, and then black. We're falling off. So let's hope that this period of stability here is going to help for a reset into a better place for the market. But there's a reality here, and that reality is that the only way aluminum prices are going to go up is if large industrialized countries that make things, the EU, the United States, China, India, start making a lot of stuff. And all the economies right now are kind of, we're in this weird place of growth and not growth, and growth and then not growth. And so that's why we're seeing this effect going on. Well, let's look at what's happening with the inventory. So here's our 30-day London Metal Exchange aluminum warehouse stocks. We saw that the inventory kind of dropped off for a while. That would explain why prices were up a little bit. Now the inventories are picking back. They picked back up again, and now they're starting to drop off again. So, these fluctuations drive what's going on with prices. But again, what we would like to see as scrappers is the warehouse levels to really just keep falling off. If you look at the 60-day stocking levels, overall, they're down, right? If you go from where we were 60 days ago, this is a downward trend. So overall, it did trend down over that 60-day period. We had some sudden drop-offs with some restocking. So that kind of explains why we see the fluctuating prices going on. Again, not a good enough downward trend to keep us happy. 6-month downward trend, so that's nice. We really like seeing that. And it does make you want to wonder. It's like, well, if the 6-month prices, if the 6-month warehouse levels are going down, here, let's go up and look at the 6-month prices real quick. Hang on, we're going to go up to 6-month spot price. 6-month spot price. You're saying, well, I don't get it. The inventory was dropping throughout the 6-month period, but the prices remained relatively stable. So what's up with that? And what's up with that was there wasn't a whole lot of production going on. So the inventory levels were dropping, but you didn't have a big production demand to cause the prices to go up. So you got some of that influence in there. And then here's our 1 year. So you can see the inventories dropped off to a nice low, but then recovered and have been slowly dropping off again. So, you know, we really like to see this, and this bodes well for us for long term, that we should, you know, we can expect to see prices trending back up as these inventory levels remain low. Here's our 5-year London Metal Exchange aluminum warehouse levels. We are at 5-year. This was the 5-year low here in August of 22. We're not that far above the 5-year lows. So there's still plenty of room that needed to restock back up to historical levels. And, you know, with the auto worker strike resolving, we should start to see more aluminum going, you know, picking back up for vehicles. And with, you know, depending upon what happens with the electrification and the switch to green energies and things like that, we really ought to see things like aluminum and copper start to rebound in the long run. All right, so what does all of this mean for us in our scrapping world? Let's go back up to this 30-day price, spot price here. What I'm doing is I'm selling my aluminum as I get it, as I have enough to get some reasonable weigh-ins. So whether it's insulated aluminum wire, sheet aluminum, cast aluminum, when I fill up a bin, I bring it in, and that is mostly to allow me to meet my cash flow. So aluminum is pretty much a cash flow metal for me, and I don't really stock a lot of it. Now, I am keeping some of my aluminum for future melting projects. You may have seen this in one of my recent videos where I got some insulated aluminum wire, pretty thick gauge stuff. And what I'll do is I will keep some of that so that I can strip it and have that good quality aluminum for some future melting projects. So the aluminum that I'm keeping behind is to support my future melting projects. It's not to as stockpiling. I do stockpile some copper, so I keep about 10% of my copper, my better grades of copper, the Bear Bright and the #1 behind for strategic reserve. But the aluminum that I'm keeping behind is purely so that I can have some aluminum for when I start experimenting with melting and casting projects and such. So what kind of thoughts are you all having on aluminum? Let's see here now. Winter coming, a drop is traditional. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly winter slowdowns and things like that. So that's a very good point there. Hey, Shark, glasses, purple, yellow, diamond. I'm missing that one. I'm not sure what you mean there, JCT. Sorry. That's right. Recycling is saying it's not too early for the Christmas tree. It was up last week. So there. Let's see. Metallic Maniacs plus a lot of old corporations sold out to foreign owners. Yeah, so there's a bunch of, you know, there's a big issue with, you know, with what's going on and consolidation of mills and stuff. So there is some of that going on. Absolutely. Let's see, scrapping together. Somebody said something to, oh, hello, scrapping together. Welcome. Great to have you here. All right. Metallic Maniac says aluminum is depressed in his region. Today, it should be about $1.25 a pound. Okay. And he's also saying that aluminum and brass are disrespected, not fair values, disrespected metal. That's right. Recycling says 6063 at MLC. They hold for future melting purposes. Yeah, spot on. That's a great thing to do. Another big item for me are the heat sinks that I get from computers. That's actually one of my most consistent sources for aluminum are the heat sinks. And my non-ferrous yard pays me what they call extruded aluminum price for them. So that's that works for me. And JR Cat says he just cut the top off of 55-gallon barrels for his aluminum. So I guess he's going to be stacking up some aluminum. Yeah, the nice thing about aluminum is you can put a lot. It obviously isn't as dense as copper, so it's not as heavy. So you can put a lot more aside and still have some manageable weights that you can move around. The bad part of aluminum is it doesn't weigh as much, so your bins aren't as heavy as it. So it's kind of a trade with aluminum. But again, for me, aluminum is a cash flow metal, so I'm just keeping it moving in order to satisfy the cash flow demands that I face. All right, our business note for the week. We actually have two things that I want to talk about during the business note period. And for the first thing that I want to talk about is knowing your regulations. Like a lot of the safety and the business notes that I talk about, things happen during the week that give me, that say, oh, that reminds me, I should talk about that. So I got the invoice for my lease payment at the Shark Cage, and it actually went down. And I'm thinking, holy cow, something's wrong here. Lease payments never go down. What's up with that? And for the previous 2 years with the previous owner, throughout the year, my lease payments were rock steady, steady. They would go up every year about 4% because that was already negotiated, but otherwise they wouldn't change month to month. And so I was trying to figure out why in the world my lease went down. And then I remembered, I got a notice from the Florida revenue folks about some tax changes. And sure enough, one of the tax changes was a decrease in lease space taxes. So my landlord had to was adjusting my lease because the taxes went down. Now, the reason why this is important and how this relates to, regulations is that you need to understand when you are selling things, you have to understand what the taxing structure is. And you have to recognize that tax money is not yours. You are collecting those taxes on behalf of the state, the county, the city, whoever, whatever tax it is, and then you owe it to them. So it's not your money. So the new landlords are much more careful about paying attention to the tax rates and then adjusting my invoice accordingly, because the regulations make it very clear that you can get in a lot of trouble if you, one, collect too much tax, two, if you're not paying that tax to the state, the county, the city on whatever schedule that they make you pay it. And then if you're not collecting enough tax, well, you still owe the tax based on the basis of the sale. So you could get fined, or you're still going to have to pay it one way or the other. So you've got your taxing structure that you need to be aware of. And then on top of that, there's all these other regulations that go into the scrapping and recycling business that we have to pay attention to. Here in Florida, most of our regulation on scrapping and recycling is for theft mitigation. So we have to deal with all kinds of things on what are controlled items, what items are we allowed to buy with just taking a picture of the driver's license and the person and the license plate, which ones can we not touch at all unless we know that they're coming from a secondary metal recycler, and which items are we going to not buy because of the way somebody may have processed them, like burnt copper. So it's not illegal to sell or buy burnt copper here in Florida if you can prove that the copper came from some sort of structure fire or building fire. So, if you are in the business like me as a secondary metal recycler, if I sell burnt copper to another yard, they may or may not ask me where I got it from. They're not required to ask me because I'm a yard like them. But if I'm buying it from a peddler, which is the consumer term here in Florida, I have to be able to justify or convince myself that that wasn't somebody that was just out there burning wire, which is against the law. So, those kind of regulations are really important, and they're going to be different. Here in the United States, they're going to be different from one state to another state. And within those states, they can be different by county and sometimes even the city. So really, really important that you understand this. I am really busy right now because I'm going to be relocating to North Carolina next year. So I'm really busy studying the laws and the regulations in North Carolina to make sure that I understand what I can and cannot do when I get there, what kind of reporting requirements I'm going to have. One of the advantages that I have working for me now is that I'm a member of ISRI, the Institute for Scrap and Recycling Industries, and they have people that can help me with this. So before I joined ISRI, I had to do all this research on my own. And now that I'm part of ISRI, they have some resources to help me do that. So it's proving very valuable. Cajun Coin Hunter, welcome. Great to have you here. Hopefully you saw my note. I powered up that mixer and it looks like it's working fine. So just wanted to make sure you knew that. Let's see. Homer's Reluctant Odyssey saying here in Pennsylvania, lots of folks burn the insulation of copper. We buy lots of it and it stinks. Yeah, I don't know. That surprises me that that's going on. And well, it doesn't surprise me that it's going on because there's a lot of people that do not understand how bad that is for the environment and for them if they're inhaling the fumes that are coming off of it. But it also surprises me that because Pennsylvania's got some pretty strict electronic recycling rules on the books. I mean, because I was looking into them because for a while I was thinking about going to Pennsylvania. So yeah, burning copper wire is just wrong. It's really bad for the environment. It's really bad for you if you inhale that stuff. A lot of nasty stuff in those fumes. You got to be really careful with that kind of stuff. So you'll want to watch out for that. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. Recycling, moving closer. Okay. All right. So, JR Cat says no burning here in Ohio. Yeah. All righty. And let's see. What's this one? There's a scrapyard around here that buys burnt copper wires. I was very surprised when I heard that. Again, it all depends on the rules and, are they requiring proof that it's from a fire, a structure fire or something like that? So it'd be interesting to ask them what kind of mitigations they have, or, maybe, maybe they don't know that they're doing something wrong. That's entirely possible. There are a lot of independent yards that, aren't paying attention. And unless, they may not have drawn the attention of any local authorities to let them know that they're doing something wrong. It can happen, right? Yeah, it can happen. Cajun Coin Hunter says no burning copper here in Louisiana. All righty. Yeah, no, they're a shady scrapyard. Okay. Yeah, that kind of says it all, right? JR Cat wants to know what part of North Carolina. So we're going to be heading to the mountains, so the west part of the state. And we're looking at Asheville. So Asheville, North Carolina is where we're looking to move to. And I'll be sharing more information about the move to Asheville as we go on. We've still got a long way to go. My lease here doesn't expire until the end of May. So that's sort of a key driver on our move up to Asheville. But we are headed that way next year. All right. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about, and this seems like a place to put it, it is kind of a business note, but not really a business note. There have been a couple of changes to YouTube that I wanted to make people aware of, because you may be, excuse me, I had an itch there, because you might, you might go to somebody's homepage and see some differences here and, wondering what's going on. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to take a look at Scrapping Irish's homepage. So, if you were looking at a video for Scrapping Irish and you clicked on his logo, it would take you to his homepage. And when you look at these tabs, what you may notice is that there's a tab that's missing, because there used to be a tab called the About tab, or the About page. And it's where you could click on it and you could see a little blurb about what Scrapping Irish is all about. Hey, Raphael, great to have you here. Any links they're sharing and things of that nature. YouTube did away with the tab, but they didn't really do away with it. They moved it, and it's up here now. So on home pages, when you see this first part of the blurb, so for Scrapping Irish, this is my videos are me taking apart old broken electronics for gold recovery and other precious ... with an arrow. And when you click on the arrow, now you get the About page. So if you are trying to get more information about someone, and you are, you go to their homepage and you're like, hey, what happened to that place where I could get the links and learn more about them and get their email address and all that kind of stuff? Well, here it is. So that's how you find it now on people's YouTube homepages. And you can see the other links that Scrapping Irish has. You can see here's his YouTube handle. He's got a little over 7,000 subscribers. Congratulations, Scrapping Irish. That's awesome. He's got 478 videos. His views are up, and he joined in March 23 of 2018, and he's from Ireland. So, this is a useful tool when you're trying to figure out if you're going to follow a channel, if you're going to subscribe to them. And when you find a cool channel and you want to be able to share it with somebody, you can go right down here and you can share that channel out. So that's one big change that's gone on. And I don't know that I don't know that I really like this, because for a lot of people, they're not going to know that they should, the average person on YouTube, it doesn't keep up with a lot of the changes. And so they're probably not going to know that if they click on that arrow, they'll get the About page. So I'm not really sure I'm a big fan of this change. So we'll see what YouTube does, if they're going to revert back or if they're going to leave it there. They say that they were trying to clean up, these tiles in here. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Now, the other thing that you will notice on people's homepages is this thing called For You. So this is rolling out now. And what this is and it's kind of interesting because YouTube is taking they look at my viewing history, and they are recommending Scrapping Irish content to me that the algorithm thinks that I would enjoy watching. So when you guys go to the Scrapping Irish's page and you go to the For You section, you may see different videos and recommendations because the algorithm is recommending Scrapping Irish content to you based on your viewing history of his content and your viewing history in general. So this For You section is rolling out. You may not see it on everybody's page just yet. It is slowly rolling out over time, and it's going to be different for every one of you. So, you know, when you go on a person's page, you're going to get recommendations based on the way you have been watching YouTube, and in particular, that person's channel. That is kind of an interesting twist, right? I kind of, you know, I mean, I'm going to see how this plays out. I haven't started using it yet for looking at people's content, so I don't know if I like it or if I don't like it. So you know, we'll see. You know, now as a creator, by the way, there are some things that you can do to modify this section. You can actually, I think you can turn it off. You can also say only put up long form content, only put up short content, or you can just let the algorithm do it. So if you are an active creator and you take an interest in your homepage, it's something that you'll want to go in and take a look at. And Scrapping Irish is saying that I'm not getting on your page yet. Yeah, I don't know. So I have to go in and look at mine. I've been messing around with mine, and I may have, excuse me, I actually may have disabled mine while I've been messing around with it. So thanks, Irish. I'll go take a look at that. And Metallic Maniac, I've been saying hit the like because we are the algorithm. That's right. You are the algorithm. I mean, that is an awesome point. I really want to emphasize that. Everybody says, everybody, you always hear these people talk about how to beat the algorithm, how to hack the algorithm. We, the viewers, are the algorithm. So the best way to tell the algorithm that you like what you're seeing and you like that content creator is to just hit the like button and drop a comment. And that's a great way to, you know, send those kind of positive signals to the algorithm. Homer's Reluctant Odyssey wants to know if Board Sword has added Irish sucker sticks to oh man. Oh, I'm sorry. That was just too funny. Yeah, you know, so they're constantly making changes, and there's, you know, good and bads of them constantly making changes, right? You know, you get comfortable with something and it's working. They're always trying to improve the experience for us, and they're always experimenting, just like they recommend that we always experiment. And sometimes they nail it and hit it out of the park, and sometimes they just goon it up. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. I thought you all would find that interesting. I hope that was helpful. If you all have been wondering, you know, if you've been looking at the home pages and you've seen some weird stuff going on, I wanted to, you know, just make you all aware of that. You know, maybe that'll help you out the next time you're going to check out somebody's channel or learn more about that content creator. All right, well, it is time to get into our stocks. And you may have been scratching your head with the title, Road and Rail, or you may have just simply said, oh, we're going to talk about a trucking company and we're going to talk about a railroad company. Now, real quick, as a reminder for those of you that may be new or you don't remember, all of my information comes from the Value Line Investment Survey. They are subscription-based only. They take no advertising whatsoever. So all of the information they share is just pure numbers and analysis of those numbers without any bias. So I really enjoy the data that I get from them. They're not inexpensive, but it's very valuable data for me because it's real and unbiased. So, oh, and that reminds me, I need to resubscribe. It's about that time. I have to take a look at what that's going to cost me. All right, so our first company that we're going to check out today is a trucking company. It is Ryder. The ticker symbol is R. And they are offering a dividend of 2.8%. Now, you may be wondering why I have this in gold, because usually if it's in gold, it means that it was 4% or greater. And that's because it used to be, when I first started tracking Ryder, they used to be above 4%. And that was a reminder to me that the dividend, it's not that the dividend went down, but it's that the price went up so much. So the stock price on Ryder climbed to the point where the dividend yield appeared to go down. All right, so Ryder is not qualified by cash flow or earnings per share, but they are a Div 0. So that means that they have had 17 years of increasing dividends per share. So for the last 17 years, they have always increased their dividends per share. Here's the graphical analysis. You can see blue is cash flow, green is earnings per share. The dividend per share doesn't really stand out a lot in this chart, but that is a nice upward trend there. It's just on the scale of the numbers, it doesn't stand out. Can you imagine how uncomfortable the conversations must have been in the boardroom back here in 2013, 2014, when the earnings per share were dropping down below what they were paying out in dividends? Yeah, that would have been interesting. But they have recovered nicely. Now, for those of you that may not be familiar with Ryder, they are engaged in full-service truck leasing, programmed maintenance, commercial truck rental, and integrated supply chain logistics. They have 558 operating locations throughout the United States, Canada, Europe, and Latin America. They have a fleet of over 230,000 vehicles. Oh my. That means that I only need 229,999 more vehicles to compete with them. So Ryder is an international company. Those of you that are across the pond and you want to get involved in stocks, this is one that you could potentially invest in if you wanted to. Now, a couple of key notes here. Ryder System has announced plans to acquire IFS Holdings. IFS specializes in contract packaging, manufacturing, and warehousing for some of the largest and best-known consumer brands in the United States, particularly in consumer packaged goods, retail, and healthcare industries. Ryder will also acquire 15 operations across Florida, Georgia, Illinois, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, Utah, and California. So they are really expanding into what they do. And what's interesting to me is when I always thought of Ryder as a place that you could lease a truck from. And as I looked into Ryder more, I realized that they were also involved in the whole range of logistics solutions. So Ryder is, it's one of those companies that's out there. The dividend yield is not that great, as we discussed. Am I going to invest in them? No. Even though they are a Div 0 and they are qualified, this yield is not attractive to me at this stage. But for any of you that might be interested in, getting some trucking business into your portfolio, I would add that according to these the Value Line folks, they are saying that the long-term view is mixed. They are increasingly optimistic about stronger fundamentals, but some investors could benefit from near-term momentum, but the long haul holds less appeal. So take that under advisement. And that's a perfect opportunity for me to remind all of you that I am not a financial counselor. I am not an investment counselor. I am not certified, licensed, or in any way regulated in sharing this advice with you. This is simply what I do when I'm looking at companies that I'm going to invest in, and I share that with you for you to make your decisions. And if you are going to invest in any of these companies, I strongly urge that you do your careful due diligence. If you want to speak with an appropriate investment counselor, please do, because you can lose all of your money when you invest in stocks if you choose poorly. And that's actually what I used to do. When I first started investing, I would buy high, wait for the company to go out of business and lose everything. Then when I got my MBA and I learned how to actually analyze companies, I actually started making some money with my investments. All right, now the second company, I promised you a railroad company. And as I looked through the portfolio of railroad companies here in the United States, the player that comes out of interest is called Norfolk Southern, NSC. Their yield is 2.8%. And that's on a very lofty $195.28. So this is not a cheap stock. It's not inexpensive, and the dividend is not fantastic. But this is a recurring theme in the trucking industry, in the railroad industry. The dividends are just not fantastic in these companies. Norfolk Southern is not qualified in cash flow or earnings per share. They are a Div 1 because they had this one flat year, 11 to 12. So we still allow them for consideration. If we look at them graphically, we can see that the overall trend is up for their cash flow and earnings per share, but they've had some ups and downs here, and their dividends is overall trending up a little bit nicer slope than what we saw with Ryder. Now, investing in railroads in the United States is a tricky business, and I do urge a lot of caution if anybody is thinking about that, because, it's, the railroad industries are competing with the airlines and the trucking industries to move things across the landmass of the United States. And they are very, very dependent on things like how efficiently they do their operations, the bulk of the materials that they ship, and their energy costs. So there's a lot that goes into this. I am not going to invest in this stock. I bring it to your attention because both Ryder and Norfolk Southern are critical to the to the scrapping and recycling industry. We have to have trucking companies and railroad companies to move all of this big, heavy scrap material around. So so I felt obligated to bring these companies to your attention. I would just point out that Norfolk Southern has 19,420 route miles of track in 22 eastern and southern states of the United States, plus the District of Columbia. Let's see, their revenue mix is from coal, intermodal, agriculture, consumer, government, metals and construction, and then other. So metals and construction makes up 13% of their revenue, by the way, just in case you were curious. So that's important to try to keep those in mind. And then there's also a little discussion here about their work. They're taking over some operations for a Cincinnati company called Cincinnati Southern. So they've acquired the rail assets of Cincinnati Southern. So they're going to be moving into Cincinnati. The analysis summary says that shares of Norfolk Southern are below average for timeliness, but the stock still has plenty of upside potential, and the dividend payment helps to sweeten the pot. So the analysis here is that the value of the stock will continue to rise. So, those of you that have confidence in the railroad industry and you're looking for a place to get into the transportation world, you might want to think about this. Now, if you are thinking about getting in the transportation world, I would urge you to go back and look at last week's discussions, because we talked about UPS, which is technically in the airline industry analysis, but it is also a major mover of things in the United States. And if you want to get into the transportation industry, that's another place that you might want to consider taking a look at. Just a quick reminder, UPS, United Parcel Service, their dividend, wait a minute, they're on this board here. So right here, UPS, their dividend, 4.6% on $142 and some change. So I would consider UPS to be a better investment in the transportation industry than either the railroad or the trucking company that I just talked about. But again, that's something that you'll need to decide where that plays into your portfolio, if it plays at all. So let's see what we've had going on while I've been talking about those stocks and those companies. Irish sucker sticks are $23 a pound on boardsort.com right now. So that's a good thing. And according to Rafael, I don't need 230,000 trucks. I just need my one Toyota with my Tetra skills. Yeah, and I think I'm going to go out this week and do some street scrapping too. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be street scrapping this week. Could be kind of interesting, or it could be a nothing burger because of the holidays. The holidays always make street scrapping a little bit weird. But I'm looking forward to getting back out to the streets this week. So be looking for a street scrapping video to come out. JR Cat says that's the company that had an accident here in Ohio. I'm assuming you're talking about Norfolk Southern. So that's another thing. Railroad companies, the railroad industry, man, when they have an accident, that can get expensive. Andrew popped back in and wished everybody to have a great week. So Andrew's from New Zealand, by the way. So it's kind of cool. We stretch a long way around the world from New Zealand all across the United States over to Europe. So we've got quite a reach going on here with the Shark Scrapper Live. Yeah, okay, that's it. Norfolk Southern had 26 cars involved. Yeah. And, if any of those were chemical cars, then it gets really nasty, right? Because now you got, you get chemicals involved in it. It gets really expensive. The cleanup is bad. So that's another thing to consider with the railroad industry is, a bad derailment can get really expensive and have a negative impact on the bottom line. So, so Rafael was saying that Mike might have had something to do with it. Oh man, that's funny. Okay, I wanted to follow up. Last week I had a request to take a look at a particular company called Fuse Minerals Australia. So Fuse Minerals is not analyzed by the Value Line Investment Survey for a lot of reasons. Number one, they're not publicly traded yet. and they probably won't get publicly traded on any of the U.S. exchanges for a while. They are moving towards getting listed in Australia, so they may be coming available on the Australian market for buying. Fused Minerals Australia is an interesting company because they don't actually do the mining themselves. What they are all about is finding the reserves so that other companies can do the mining. And this is very common in the minerals and mining industry, that there will be companies that specialize in doing the surveying and the coring and the sampling and the mapping of the mineral reserves. And then a large mining company can then come in and acquire the rights to actually mine the minerals that are found. And then the way a company like Fused Minerals would make their money, they have a lot of different ways, but sometimes what they'll do is negotiate for a percentage of the minerals. It's going to be some mix of a base price and then a percentage of the take, those kind of things. So Fused Minerals is more of an exploration and sampling company than they are an actual miner. If you were interested in looking into that, being a part of that, keep an eye on the markets there. I don't know how these kind of things work in Australia. In the United States, we have what's called an IPO, so your initial public offering. So when a company goes from private to public and is going to be listed on the exchange, they go through an IPO process. There's a price that's set for the IPO, and then when it hits the market, people start buying into it. And the way that the initial investors, the tier 1, tier 2, the people that put their money in when it was a private company, the way they make their money then is they hope that a bunch of people are interested, and when that IPO hits the streets, the price goes up above the initial public offering price, and that allows the early investors, the folks that were there when it was a private company, to make their money. So keep an eye on that. It certainly sounds like it's a worthwhile company to pay attention to. They have some good people on their board. According to what I was able to read, people that have a good understanding of the mining industry, the survey industry, how to find this stuff. So there's certainly something to look into that. And Australia has a lot of mineral wealth available all over the place. And then it's just a question of, dealing with the conflicting challenges of indigenous rights, environmental concerns, and mining industry and the economy. So if you're in Australia and you were looking at that, then yeah, I'd say keep an eye on it. Might be worth going in early, depending upon whatever the Australian equivalent of an IPO price is. Boats, welcome. Great to have you here. Always good to see you, Boats. All righty. Well, with that, there were a couple of other things that I wanted to touch on. The only other thing that I do want to just to share with you before we head across the pond to Ireland is I read some news about EU lawmakers revising some of their waste export shipment regulations so that certain types of waste cannot be sold to countries that are unable to properly process it. I don't have a lot of details on this. If you are over in the EU and you are concerned about whether or not this is going to have an impact on you, you might want to dig into this a little bit. I'm thinking, now this is just me, I don't know this for sure, but my suspicion is they're specifically targeting electronic waste, electronic scrap. That's a very common target for these kind of regulations. So there may be some changes coming to what happens with electronic scrap in the EU and where it can be sold. So you might want to check into that. Rafael is saying it's mostly batteries. Okay. That would make a certain amount of sense too, right? Because you've got lead acid batteries, lead is a hazmat and you've got the acid. So I could understand where batteries would also, could be the issue there. So again, I don't have a lot of details. If you're in the EU, it's something that you'll probably want to take a look at. All right, with that said, I want to thank you all for giving me an hour of your Sunday. I've had a lot of fun. I am going to head across the pond to Ireland. If you have autoplay enabled, as soon as I end this stream, it will take you across the pond to Ireland as well, where we will join Scrapping Irish and have some more fun talking. You never know who Scrapping Irish is going to have up on his panel. You never know what kind of questions is going to come up. So it's always a lot of fun, and I look forward to being there. And if you do not have autoplay enabled, then please go to YouTube, type in Scrapping Irish, and look on his channel for his live stream and join us over there. When you go to your homepage on YouTube, it may already be telling you to go over there, because I think just about all of us here come up on Scrapping Irish's channel during his live stream. All right, everybody, I've had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. If you're in the United States, I hope you have recovered from your turkey coma and you are back in battery and had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Come on, let's head on over across the pond.